resident representative of the United Nations Development Program, to come up, and please welcome her to bring her remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. If I'm allowed, may I say all protocols observed for the rest of the time. But let me just congratulate on the successful organization of the Green Expo. I think the organizer really deserves good applause.
I would applaud them because most of them are standing at the back of the room on the inside here, so please.
Yes, I just wanted to send the heartiest congratulations from UNDP, United Nations Development Program. The Green Expo is an important event on the national calendar, creating a period and space for focused attention on the connection between the environment and the development. And I understand my role here, my honored role here is really to bring this development and environment nexus in this address. So I'm very, very pleased to be able to do that today. This year's theme, Balancing Development with Environmental Protection, and the sub-themes of water conservation, alternative energy sources, recycling and waste management, and energy conservation sum up some of the most crucial matters facing the world today, especially with the added element of climate change. All of us here today, and the most vulnerable in particular, are affected by climate change, unreliable water and energy supplies, escalating costs, poor waste management, and environmental degradation. As Minister Tufton mentioned in his remarks at the Green Expo launch, ensuring sustainability is critically important in the development process. And again, I really have to stress this because I'm bringing the aspect of human development as a major UN's development organization, UNDP. We really have the role and responsibility of supporting this nexus between the development and environment, and it's all about the sustainability. And one reason why this is a case becomes clear if we try to understand sustainability in terms of equity. We usually think about equity, or more usually, the absence of equity or inequality as relative advantage and disadvantage of particular groups of people defined by gender, race, or place of birth. Sustainability, on the other hand, involves the issue of equity between groups of people separated by time. In other words, between generations. This is because if the cost of development efforts are not shared fairly between this and succeeding generations, they are unlikely to be continued. The former might be termed intra-generational equity, while we can call the latter intergenerational equity. So we are talking about equity in any case, between generations or within the generation. How to maintain a balance between intragenerational and intergenerational equity is a key to successful human development. And I want to bring an example of some agriculture practices, for example, in certain African countries and Asia, burning the fields, etc., which may not be sustainable, but it is necessary for maintaining the equity in that particular generation. But if we talk about equity between the generations, is it a good practice? Also, cutting trees. Some poor populations in certain countries may have to depend on the trees now available, but by cutting trees, you may be able to achieve the equity in the generation, but then not the intergenerations. So that's the equity I'm talking about. At the heart of these human and development challenges is the issue of governance, the processes that determine who gets what, when, where, and how, the political, social, economic, and administrative systems which directly or indirectly affect the use, development, and management of our natural resources. Lack of access to clean water and basic sanitation presents a significant crisis. Over 2.6 billion people lack access to basic sanitation, and nearly 900 million people to a source of clean drinking water. And large urban and rural disparities prevail. For example, less than half of the rural population worldwide used basic sanitation facilities in 2008, compared with 76% of the urban population. Annually, about 10% of the global burden of disease worldwide could be prevented by improvements related to drinking water and sanitation. Unequal access to natural resources is also affecting other areas of human life, for example, children's education. In countries like Peru and Tanzania, the burden of water collection was found to impede the progress of girls in school and the number of hours girls spent studying. The same applies in Jamaica. The drought of 2010 should still be fresh in our minds. It was the worst since 1995. An unusually long period without rain, resulting in severely reduced water supplies, and everyone suffered. But the degree of suffering varied depending on the factors such as households' economic means. Let us also remember too that significant numbers of Jamaicans do not have access to drinking water in or close to their homes, even under normal circumstances. Others live in areas where it isn't considered economical to deliver piped water, but other water solutions are inadequate. The lack of water has implications for sanitation and health, life conditions, human relationships, and the productivity of persons, including the children. Since 1990, there have been spectacular advances in human development. The share of the population living in developing countries on less than $1 per day has fallen from 29% in 1990 to 18% in 2004. Child mortality rates have also fallen from 106 deaths per 1,000 live births to 83, and life expectancy has increased by 3 years globally. But I also have to bring bad news. Bad news is that forces generated by climate change will be superimposed on the world market by deep and pervasive human development deficits, and by disparities that divide the haves and the have-nots. While globalization has created unprecedented opportunities for some, others have been left behind. The state of the world's environment is a vital link between climate change and human development. The vital ecosystems, including mangrove swamps, wetlands, and forests, are highly vulnerable to climate change, as are the people who depend on the services they provide. People and countries vary in their resilience and the capacity to manage the incremental risks associated with climate change. Also, they vary in their capacity to adopt. Inequalities in capacity to cope with these risks will fuel wider inequalities in opportunity. As the incremental risks created by climate change intensify over time, they will interact with existing structures of disadvantage. An increase of over 2 degrees in the average global temperature will fundamentally change the distribution of the world water resources. In Latin America, for example, accelerated melting of tropical glaciers will threaten water supplies for urban populations, agriculture, etc., etc. By 2080, climate change could increase the number of people facing water scarcity around the world by 1.8 billion. I repeat, 1.8 billion.